Welcome to the Myrna Method live stream. I'm registered dietitian Myrna Haig, and I think it's appropriate in this video to talk about taking back your body. Now, a few of you are going to know exactly what I'm talking about. What that means is that every year, this time of the year, we reflect back on the year before and all the things we're going to do different with our health this year. Like some big magical thing's going to come over you and things are going to change. You're going to lose the weight. Maybe you're going to start on a new weight loss drug. Things are going to change, and you've made that decision now because it's what you desire. You got the motivation. But like everything else that happens, after a couple weeks, the motivation weans. The desire isn't quite there. So is this really a biochemical process? Do we really just lose our motivation? I want to bring you the science behind that. But most importantly, I want to cross you over. What good is it if you have all this information, if you're not getting the main tidbit that's going to cross you over the edge? I'd cross over. I guess that's not a right word, right? Because we always think of crossover being definite. I'm talking about crossing over to where lifestyle becomes normal, feels right, isn't something that you feel you're sort of drudging, making yourself do. How do you get to that point? Because most importantly, if you're not there, it isn't sustainable. You go on the internet and there's berberine, there's this supplement, CoQ10. You are so tied in to finding that perfect commercial, that perfect infomercial that's telling you just buy this supplement. And by the way, it's not even measurable. I mean, you're taking it because of fear that if you don't take it, or maybe possibly it's going to prevent whatever, it's going to help, but you don't really get a full quantitative measurement if it really made a difference. That's what I'm talking about. We got to get into quantifiable, measurable differences that you do, things you do in your life, which, by the way, are going to be super simple, because if they're super hard and you got to figure it out, that doesn't work either. I want to be able to give you maybe 1 or 2 tips that you implement that makes a huge difference in your life. So in this video, I felt it was super appropriate to talk about taking back your body. So Sam, if you're ready, let's dive right in. So when I think about taking back your body, it's really about bringing it into your mind. What are the things that we tell ourselves? Well, first of all, desire really isn't even enough. I mean, most people, when they start the new year, they want a better life. I mean, everybody wants a better life, and we all deserve health. Right? I mean, that's the big ticket. I mean, free healthcare. Don't we all deserve to have healthcare? Don't we all deserve to have this optimum body? After all, we all have this picture of this body that we want, and people desire optimum health. I've never met one person that says, oh, not me. Oh, no. I want to be sick. I don't want any energy. And yeah, well, if I gained 40 pounds more this year than I did last year, hallelujah. It's not how it works. We want to have the optimum health. And what does that mean? What does it really mean to be physically healthy? Pretty much it comes down to 3 things. And I think we can all agree on this. Doesn't take a lot of science to figure this out. Your ideal body weight. And we'll come back to that, because is ideal body weight the full ticket? Does it really get us the optimum health? But let's go back to what the standard quo is. Ideal body weight, energy, and muscle capacity. Some type of muscle capacity. Maybe it's performance. You know, I walk 3 miles every day, or I'm at the gym. I'm really hitting the weights. I'm really seeing a difference in my muscle mass. But those 3 things are typically what we tie into if we're really going to be living this healthy life. Well, I used to believe that all somebody needed was desire, that, you just give them the strategy, do this, don't do that, until I opened up my nutrition practice. And here's what changed everything for me. In my practice, I was working with people who came to me because if they didn't change, the outcome wasn't going to be good. They were dependent on pharmaceuticals, and their unhealthy lifestyle choices had caused a nutritional and physical bankruptcy. And I say that because a lot of times we think of bankruptcy, well, I just don't have enough funds to do all the things I want to do. I had to file. Okay, I get it. Bankruptcy is not a good thing. But it comes in the bank account, it comes to you and you know you're bankrupt. But in your health, I'm always surprised how many people don't even realize they've hit rock bottom. They're at the nutritional, physical bankruptcy, and they really don't even know it. But here's what really shocks me, is the ability to maintain a focused desire. It's like that's gone. Because I believe what I have found in my practice, most of the time when they lose this desire, it's because they feel they can't do it. And what I discover with most of my patients that are in this rut, it's not about desire or motivation, which, by the way, right about now, everybody's full of motivation, right? As all the commercials out for diets and everybody's trying to hook into that motivation. You're just driving forward right now because after all, last month you were having a really good time with food, and now this month you're going to really buckle down, hit the gym. Well, that's not what's going to work, unfortunately. It's the ability to maintain your belief. When I think about belief, I'm really going to tie into this lifestyle through imperfection. Basically, what I'm saying is imperfection is part of it. If you can't keep that desire alive through all these setbacks, well, you don't just lose the diet. You don't lose the fact that you're not being able to stay on the diet, you're not compliant. You actually lose yourself. Self-efficacy is so much a part of this whole setback in diet. Everybody's searching for the magic ticket, the magic supplement. And what I'm going to tell you in this video, it's not even about that. The number one thing that keeps you on target isn't the supplement you're going to buy next week or some commercial to pay $400 for some diet program. It's really much more simple than that, and there's a ton of science behind it. Once people lose that confidence, they lose that feeling of thinking that they can really do it, then it comes to the whole feeling of, what's the point if I can't win? I mean, if I can't be successful at something, then what's the point of trying? What's the point of even staying on it? Which has really brought in the whole dependency, and it really has turned into a dependency. It's flying off the charts, flying off the shelves, is the GLPs, the glucagon-like peptides, these medication weight loss drugs. It helps people break the cravings. That's all these drugs are really doing. They also, though, create this new dependency. So the body has a way to change biochemically how you crave food. But instead of understanding the science and how you can do it naturally, because after all, you feel like I just can't do it because you haven't lived through the perfections enough to understand that's part of the process, understanding the process and knowing it's not about a diet in or diet out, that's why these drugs have taken hold. Because you get on the drug and you pretty much are letting the drug do what you can do naturally. But at the end of the day, it's still a drug. It's not a strategy. And I don't really think it's long term. Because what are you going to stay on this drug? Is it something that is going to be for the rest of your life? At some point, when you get off the drug, are you going to be right back to where you were? Bottom line, the human body was not meant to be held hostage by food or big pharma. Your body would never choose to be obese. It would never choose chronic inflammation. It would never choose to have insulin resistance or fatigue. When you were born, you had a pretty good body, right? When we started out, God gave us a good design. And then along the way, some things got broken. Okay, look, I'll buy the fact 5%, maybe 10% of the population might have a genetic mutation where maybe a drug dependency is going to really help them over the edge. But for the most part, the other 90%, it's an imperfection that we've created on our own. But the drug companies are convincing you that the drug is natural. It's just part of what you are in being human, as if what you started with wasn't good enough. And I'm here to tell you that is a big fat lie. The fact is that we've created this imbalance. And the question is, can something as simple as food bring us back? And obviously, I wouldn't be doing these podcasts if it wasn't the case. And it's not as complicated as you may think it is, or what they're telling you on the internet. Oh, well, food doesn't really matter. All you got to do is take this drug, this special 15-chain fat, or now it's this or that. I mean, I don't care what time of the year it is, or really time in general, what decade. There's always some magic bullet somebody's selling you that's going to pull you out of this pain. And bottom line, I'm here to tell you that it's really not about that. It's something even more simple than that. It's getting away from the dependency, I want to say free from food companies and how they engineer cravings. I think it's hilarious now that a lot of people are on these GLP drugs, these medications for weight loss, that now food companies are really worried. They're really dropping their revenues. And now they're trying to figure out ways to engineer the food to be even more addictive. So you live in an environment that's trying to hold you hostage because it's big money. So the key is, how do we free ourselves from this? So whether it's big pharma or it's food companies, how do we get it to where our body goes back to how it was designed? Which, by the way, is designed to be at your ideal body weight, to have energy and have full muscle capacity and live a fruitful, active, full thinking brain, body, even into your 90s. So even when I think about longevity, it's all talking about these, special drugs you're going to have to do, and you have to shoot up this and shoot up that. There are people that live into their 90s and 100s that are active and have a full brain capacity. Maybe not in America, but it's not an impossibility, because once you understand the body's code, there is a code, and food is a big part of that. And to me, it's always a little bit strange, maybe because I'm a dietitian and I can't think of it any other way, but I don't understand how people cannot think food is at the root of everything. I mean, you can't even live without food, right? Food creates everything. Your body depends 100% on the food you eat to keep you alive, to keep the cells working. I mean, to me, it just seems so simple, but we've made it so complicated. We've actually convinced people that they need a drug to do this, that the body doesn't have the capability. And then if you say, well, the body capability, what are you really getting down to? How do you think the body gets there? Through food. The body depends on what you put in your mouth to determine how well you're going to live. But when we really think about these metabolic diseases, it's because the brain has been switched on to full-blown food addiction. So it's really about the brain I want to talk about next. Now, food dictates the brain, but it also has to do with being in a certain metabolic place physically, which I want to talk about as well. So when we think about the appetite center in the brain, or when we think about the brain in general and how it works in regards to food, is the brain has these little receptor sites. And these little receptor sites can either be red hot, waiting to be activated, to have you just hit this neuroplastic cycle of wanting to eat and eat and eat. I call it brain hedonic feeding, which is just food addiction. But these little receptor sites actually wait for messages that come from other areas. One, muscles. So muscles that are not being fed properly, which we're going to talk about what that means. But when muscles don't get the right amount of carbohydrates, and I know everybody's like, oh, it's a bad word, carbohydrate. I've been told to eliminate them. Well, muscles have a direct line to the brain, and they can turn on some of these transmitters that when they get too depleted, when we're not understanding how to eat, not just what to eat, but how to eat, they can make some of these receptors red hot. Also, too much insulin. Well, we all know that story really well, because if we eat too many carbs, we trigger too much insulin, and this can also turn these receptors on red hot. Now, what happens when these brain receptors are red hot? It means they're ready to be really hit with a reward. They want to hit that dopamine high. They want to really cause a reaction chemically in your body, because they think that if they can get you to eat more, you will change the status in your muscle, and you will change the status in the insulin. You will change the status from the neck down. But here's the trigger that sets it off. I call it hedonic food eating. Bring a lot of sugar and fat into your diet, and it's going to hit these receptor sites like a rocket ship. Your body will hit this neuroplastic repeat and play where you just pretty much can't get off the food you're eating. So a lot of people will, okay, a lot of sugar and fat, that's the culprit. By the way, that's processed food, right? Get off the processed food and you're going to see, okay, well, I wish it was that simple exactly. Because you can still get a lot of natural sugar, you can still get fat from even healthy fats that can still create a sort of hedonic food eating. I've seen a lot of people that are eating healthy foods, but they're still overweight. They still have heart disease, type 2 diabetes, but they so-called eat healthy food. What happens with this hedonic eating, this food addiction, it creates a cycle where you can't turn it off. I mean, you can the next day, obviously, but when you're caught up in it, you eat a lot more than you normally would if you weren't in this food addictive place. Now, what do these GLPs do? They literally come in and they just blanket coat these receptors, literally block the messages. So a lot of things that are coming in from the body, because you're not really understanding how to eat in the first place, that's what creates a lot of this mayhem. Well, once you're taking that GLP, your desire for food goes away. The cravings are gone. And yep, when you guessed it, when the cravings are gone, the appetite's gone. So what's beautiful about these drugs is that you take a couple bites of food and you just don't want to eat anymore. And a lot of people think, well, that's a godsend because you're losing a lot of weight. But is it really? Because you've become on a dependency of a drug that's really not teaching you how to live optimally. Because I'm going to go right back to what I said before. Your body lives optimally based on the food you're feeding it. Not the supplement, which you're not even sure what's in it, or not the drug that's actually just blocking those receptors, but actually understanding the importance of what food does chemically for you. But we're so caught up in the food companies creating drugs really through food that trigger this addictive environment. And then this is how crazy this is. We get on a drug that can block the food companies' addictive chemicals from the food. So you got to take the drug to get off the engineered drug-like food the companies are giving to you or feeding to you so that you can keep eating. And what's really crazy is when you are in this addictive place, it's even stronger than the desire to want to be lean. it's a really strong feel good because it actually hits reward centers in the brain that makes you feel good. That's why you want to continue on this food addictive place. Sometimes it can even feel stronger than your desire to live. And I say that, I know that sounds crazy, but the reason I say that is that I actually see it in my practice when I have people that are really not doing well in their laboratory values. And food can fix it, but they come tied in with the, I just don't know if I can do it. They're losing that desire. The motivation isn't there because they haven't learned that imperfection is part of it. It's about a process. And what happens is that desire and the lack of self-efficacy that they can really get this done is really more about, at least I've got food. I know this sounds crazy, but at least I've got the enjoyment from food. Please don't take that enjoyment away from me. It's almost this stronghold, and it's robbing them of their life and obviously robbing them of their health. So what is the main ticket I want to give you? Everything you put in your mouth, the number one nutrition truth, is all food is made up of these 4 macronutrients: protein, carbohydrates, fat, fiber, fat. Okay. These 4 macros. Forget about the supplement you're about to pay $80 for a bottle, or I don't know, whatever they're coming up with. It comes to, and forget about the Mediterranean diet, vegan diet, paleo diet. It's understanding, quite honestly, how these 4 macronutrients work in your body. It has to do with timing and combining. I want to give you one nugget in this video that I think can make a huge difference in your life. Number 1, understanding all food is made up of these 4. I mean, to me, that's not that difficult. Okay, so you're saying I only have to really know about 4 things? That's correct. These 4 macronutrients are very important for different parts of your body for different reasons. I'm not going to talk about it in this video because I only want to give you one nugget to remember that's impactful. We'll talk about in other videos each one of these macros and how they can empower certain areas of the body. But for now, let's get the most important step done. How do we get these macros right for the day? Why is it important to get it right for the day? Because this is truly what a balanced diet is. A balanced diet, especially in the Myrna method, it's getting the right timing and combining of these macronutrients. Not just for the day, but also at meals. Now, I want to give a little plug. I think it's appropriate. I have a book I wrote that does discuss this. It is literally a plain ride read. I say that because I didn't want it complicated. This is critical in understanding how these macronutrients work, not just for the day and why, but at the meals, knowing how to time and combine. But if you don't get it right at the day, that's a big problem because there are certain body parts that are depending on you getting that right. So it's not about your trainer or somebody on the internet telling you don't need carbs, you don't need this, do these food groups. All food groups are made of these macros. So let me give you a guide, and I want to make it super simple because if it's not super simple, then you might fall into that self-efficacy, I just don't know if I can do it. So I'm going to keep it super simple. You can do a freeze frame on this if you want to come back to these daily values. Protein. How much protein do you need for the day? Take your current weight. Weigh 200 pounds, that's your current weight. Maybe you're really supposed to weigh 120 pounds. That could be your ideal body weight. But you take your current weight, 200 pounds. You take your current weight and you divide it by 2. That's going to give you 100. That's going to be the bare minimum. Okay, I wanted to make it super simple because everybody knows how much they weigh, divided by 2. Now, if you're 100 pounds overweight, you can stop it there. So if you're 300, you don't have to go over 300. Let's say your ideal body weight's 150 and you weigh 300, okay? You can go at 250 and you can stop it there for the protein. You're going to be good. Bottom line, take your current weight and you divide it by 2. And there's a reason why the body needs that protein. Super important, super important. So forget about weight loss. Let's talk about muscle capacity, because you're not going to have any if you don't get this ticket. But you also won't have good muscle capacity. A lot of people don't think this way if you don't get the carbs right, because muscles want protein and muscles want carbs. Sorry to be the one to tell you that, because I know that's not what everybody else is telling you. But remember, there's only 4 macros you got to remember. How many carbs do you need? How many carbs, I should say, does your muscle want you to have? Because if the muscles don't get the carbs that they think they should have, don't worry, because they're going to turn on one of those red hot buttons in the brain that's going to crave sugar. And as soon as you get sugar in your lips, it's going to be really hard to get off that addictive cycle. Carbs are an important part of muscles doing what they want to do best, which is move. And I'm just talking about moving through your day. I'm not even talking about what you're going to do at the gym. So I wanted to give you an easy formula, because everybody else gives you these long, crazy formulas. So now you're going to take your ideal body weight, because carbs are based on what you should weigh, not what you do weigh. So maybe you are a little overweight and you're eating too many carbs. I want to tell you what you need to do based on what you should weigh. So let's say you weigh 200 pounds, but your ideal body weight's 120. And you're going to multiply that by 1.3. Now, I tried to do things that were super simple. 1.3 for the carbs, and then you're going to divide by 3 for the fats. Can't get more simpler than that. So 120 pounds is what you should weigh. And that's going to give you something like 156 to 160. So I'll just say 160 grams of carbs. Now, I'm going to tell you grams, because percentages don't mean a doggone thing. Who can figure out percentages when they're looking at their meals? Nobody. Grams are on all food labels, and you got to get used to understanding if you're really going to fix living your life at your healthiest, you got to figure out what you're eating, right? Because you can't fix something if you don't know where it's broken. And then we take our fats, which would, again, ideal body weight, and you're going to divide that by 3. So you might get like 40 grams. Now that's going to be 25%, and you could easily add another 30 grams to that, because you're still going to be within the 25 to 35% of fat requirement. So really what I'm saying is like maybe 40 to 70 grams, or if you're a bigger person, it could be 50 to 80 grams a day of fats. That's it, folks. These are the macronutrients at the percentages that you should be playing with. Okay? Now, I know a lot of people, just do the Mediterranean diet. Doesn't mean a doggone thing. Mediterranean diet, you could screw up these big time on a Mediterranean diet. And there are implications when you don't get this right. Number 1, and this is what I rest my hat on in the Myrna method, when you come in and you take one of my courses, I talk about this metabolic balance we get with food. Okay? And this is a big part of it. Get the daily values right. So to me, it's understanding, do you even know what your values should be? So I did these formulas because I wanted it to be super easy. And then how about fiber? Fiber's super easy because it's 25 grams is what the Center for Disease Control states. But in my practice, I like to see most patients at a minimum of 35 grams. Now, if you're sitting at 8 grams a day because you just don't eat a lot of fiber, you really can't jump it up that quick because your body can't really break down all those plant foods, which is what you should be doing for the fibers. But this is what's going to help create a healthy gut, which is a whole nother conversation. Bottom line, I'm going back to the whole idea that eating healthy is not the same as eating balanced. And in the Myrna method, when I talk about all my programs, when you go through one of my courses, it's the dietary chemical homeostasis from eating the correct ratio of protein, fiber, carbs, and fat. not just for the day, because I wanted to give you the day in this video, because that can make a huge difference right there. Get the day right, right? Because we know a lot of people talk about the macronutrients. They're not really sure why they need to do, the macronutrient diet. No, it's not the macronutrient diet. It is the diet. Okay, you don't become a dietitian and say, oh, well, just go pick the diet you think they should do. Well, I mean, clinically, we might need to do that for medical reasons. But no, there is actually a way to eat biochemically, and it is based on the macronutrients. It's not just you choosing what they should be. The body has a general rule on how it should work. And just because you eat healthy food does not mean a doggone thing when it comes to eating the correct ratio of these macronutrients. And once again, the macronutrients are just so there for you on all the labels. You go to a label right there, you can see this label has 3 grams of fat, 16 grams of carbs, 14 grams of fiber, 7 grams of protein. So if you know you need 100 grams of protein because, you weigh 200 pounds, then you know that this is not going to be a really good getting you there for the protein. But if you know you need 25 minimum grams of fiber, and this has got 14 grams of fiber, you're doing pretty good there, aren't you? You almost got half your day's worth right there. So it helps to know these things so you can look at the foods you eat and see how well it meets your requirements. So total carbs is 16 grams. Now everybody's running from the carbs, but you got to be careful. Run too far from the carbs, don't understand they're an important part of your day, and you're going to be a food addict 101. Because your muscles will tell your brain, I don't care if you just got through eating a big plate of roasted vegetables with olive oil all over, you've got 2,000 calories, I want my carbs. Go on a carb-free diet and watch the craving for carbs increase. That's why it's not sustainable. Muscles won't allow it to be sustainable, and you don't get good muscle capacity, period. Okay? So when you look at a label, the beautiful thing of this is you really instantly can go, wow, it really gives me a good analysis of where the macros are in the foods I'm eating. And that to me is one of the major tickets that I could give you. I think that's super powerful because it is the science on food. And bottom line, why your diets fail, and truly the science that really works, because this is what it's about, is why does it really work this way? And truthfully, this is a no-brainer. You can get this book on Kindle for $3, literally $3. That's a no-brainer, because I would want to know how to keep my body in a position optimally through the very thing I'm supposed to be doing to do it with, which is food. We've all forgotten that. We've really bought into this lie that a drug's going to do it. You can't have good lipid panel unless you're on a statin. Okay, that is not, just the sound of that ought to just, be a red flag. Okay? So, no, we were not born to be on statins. We were not born to be on medications. We were born to figure out how to use the natural food in our environment and be living this optimum life. That's how it's supposed to work. Anyway, so Sammy, how are we doing on the chat?
We're doing good. All good.
All right. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Sam, she's always hitting that. I love it. Okay, great. Next time, we'll bring another great key point in. The key is food makes a difference. Understand how it works. And hopefully, I'm going to bring it to you.